Hey everybody, this is Joe from MMA Hive. Today I am going to be reviewing these bad boys. So these are the Anthem Athletics Stormbringer boxing gloves. They are in the stealth gunmetal colouring and style, which basically means it's kind of like a stealth black. So yeah, I prefer to go for the stealth black look most of the time. They do come in lots of other different colours, like I remember like bright blues and greens and golds and whites and things that are a bit more flashy, but for me, I'm just kind of a muted personality that likes nice simple stealth blacks. It's kind of got like a matte finish to it. Anyway, I'll check it out in a second. They're in the 16 ounce size, so for me 16 ounce is kind of large because of the size of my hands and my wrists, but you obviously need 16 ounce gloves in most situations if you're going to do some sparring. So yeah, that's why I went for the 16 ounce gloves, because I pretty much only had some 14 ounce. And at this point I want to tell you that this is a sponsored video. So this is a review, some review gloves that have been given to me very kindly by Anthem Athletics. And I'm basically going to check them out, review them, let you know what I think about them. And although this is a sponsored video and a sponsored review, I'm going to be perfectly honest about what I think about them. So let's get straight into it. So the first thing is they come in this pretty basic plastic wrapping, nothing special. You don't get any special drawstring bag or anything like that. But still, they're boxing gloves, so what damage can be done to them? Not very much. And then the thing you've got to worry about is just keeping them clean. But yeah, the first thing I want to mention is, other than the colours and the size, is the leather. So it's actually 100% buffalo leather. So it contains non-textile parts of animal origin. So yeah, so it's a very animal product. So if you're for that, then great, and if you're against that, then there you go. It's 100% buffalo leather. But I think, from my opinion, buffalo leather is going to be something that's quite pricey and quite hard wearing. So I'm expecting these gloves to be, yeah, just basically really hard wearing and probably stand the test of time. But at this stage, we won't really know. So let's just open them and let's see how they are. I'm just going to pull them out straight away and then get rid of this packaging. Alright, so this is the first look, basically, at the glove. I'm just going to put one aside and let's just look at the right hand glove for now. This one's a little bit, bit dusty. It's a little bit dusty, but that's all good. So let's check out the glove here. So I'm just going to try and focus in on it for you so you can really see the details. So you can see there's like the Anthem A on the top of the glove. It's kind of like a Captain America style Anthem logo, should I say, which is pretty cool. On the thumb here, it's got Anthem Athletics. But again, that's why I really like the muted stealthy style. And this is the, what was it called? I think the gunmetal stealth or something. And I really like that style because, yeah, I don't like huge logos, to be honest, but it still has them, but they're very much muted compared to most other things. So let's try and get some close-ups for you. Hopefully you can see that quite well. In the light, you can see the shining of the logos here and here and here. There's also one on the thumb here, you can see just like that. On the underside, it's also got the logo here. Says Anthem over here as well. So yeah, first thing I want to say is, like, they feel really thick. They feel like the foam padding inside feels really firm. The material on the outside is this buffalo leather that's kind of like, how to describe it? It's kind of like, yeah, it's like a matted leather that's not shiny in any way. It's very calm and muted, and you can sort of, when you can see a lot of creasing in it because of that. So like, I feel like the creasing pops out even more. Let's see if you can see. It's hard to see really, but yeah, the leather feels like, it kind of feels like it would scratch quite easily. So because it's kind of this very tight and very creasable leather, maybe it would scratch easier than others, but I don't know for sure. And I feel like a shinier surface would maybe deflect some scuffs a bit easier. So I don't know, but maybe this is the kind of glove that I'll wear down. But I haven't had a material like this before, so it's quite new to me. But maybe I'm very wrong, and maybe this buffalo leather is going to be give it the quality and consistency it needs over time to, to be useful for a good amount of time. I mean, when I buy boxing gloves, I want to get a year's use out of them. But when I've reviewed like other boxing gloves, like my first pair, I mean, they've lasted me like a year and a half and they're absolutely fine. But that's because, I don't have huge hands. I can't, I'm not heavyweight. I'm only 70 kgs. So like wearing down gloves is much less likely for me. But for some people, they might be wearing gloves that are tight around their fist, like a 12 or a 14 even, and they're a heavyweight or close to it. And they seem to wear down their gloves really quickly. But this feels like the kind of, material and foam that would probably last quite some time. I mean, just feeling the foam on the punch surface here on the knuckles, there's like a lot of padding here, like tons of padding. So this feels like more than my other gloves. Definitely, it feels a lot more. And it's like over here around this, on the top end of the knuckle, I feel like there's a ton of padding right here. So I think if that's going to hit you, it's going to shock the opponent quite a bit, but it's probably going to cause less scuff damage to their face or cuts and stuff like that. I think it's going to separate the spread of force all around this glove, because I mean, it is huge. Like, look at that. Look at my look at my hand over the main part of the glove. Like, it's huge. So yeah, I think first impressions wise, I think it would be a very good sparring glove because of how thick and foamy it is. It's definitely going to need some breaking in, because like, look at it right now. It's just like there's no give whatsoever, and the material is like extremely taut and tight, and it definitely either needs some wearing in, or this just might be one of those gloves that's a lot like stays like this for a lot longer. Especially when you're thinking about 16-ounce gloves, you generally just get more padding, so they're probably going to last a bit longer. So it's always good to have, like your 16-ounce gloves for your sparring, and sometimes certain types of bag work. But then when you're trying to focus on your accuracy or your, your drills, stuff like that, you might want to get a glove size that's closer to your actual hands. So you're talking your 12-ounce, maybe 14-ounce for bigger guys. But yeah, usually a 10 or 12 ounce. I have 12-ounce. That works really well for accuracy training and precision and doing lots of drills and that kind of thing. But this is really good if you want to just like stand the test of time with sparring and lots of heavy bag work. And I think you scuff your gloves a lot easier on the bags, because especially when the bags are wearing down themselves and they get all this like fraying leather, when you're hitting them in the same places a lot of the time, eventually that wears down into your gloves as well. And so yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts. Let's look at the rest of the glove. So here on the back side, you've got like this mesh on the underside part of the palm, which I think is for airflow, I assume, but it's also probably helps with the bend in the fist, because there's probably just less tightness here. Whereas at the top of the glove, you've got a very strong, quite a strong curve for your fist, and often with gloves, some of them like open up really easily, and that can be really frustrating, especially when when you've got boxing gloves on. You want to have a closed fist, and not one that's like this as much as you can get, because this is what causes injuries. So yeah, if this part of the glove is like opening up a lot, which is something you can commonly get and see more in sort of Asian gloves, because of the heavy use of Muay Thai in that area. So different brands have more of an open palm, which allows for people to grab a little bit, so they need that flexibility, so they basically have mitts that they can open up enough to parry shots, and do counters and grab legs and things like that. But in a boxing glove for boxing, you really just want a perfect closed fist, really, and often in MMA styles as well. especially in training at least anyway. So yeah, you've got this open mesh here. So I'm going to put this one here so maybe you can see the back of this one as well. Yeah, so you've got this open mesh over here. Your basic Velcro strapping, which is quite a big strapping. And one thing I noticed on the back of the hand here is you've got this kind of clear separation between the back hand of the glove, so it's kind of be here on the arm, and the bit of your wrist where it bends. And I'm interested about this particularly because it looks quite sturdy, and I'm wondering what support it gives to the back of the hand, because often, you know, a really common problem for beginners and early on, and just accidents, especially in sparring and things, or skimming off a bag that's a bit too slippy, is when your wrist turns as you're punching. So when you're punching and your fist is going in odd directions like this, it causes a lot of stress into the wrist, which goes up your forearm, causes all sorts of elbow injuries, shoulder injuries. I've had it all. So yeah, I'm wondering if this provides a certain amount of protection against that, because really what you want is a boxing glove that is going to stay stable like this in this position, and you don't want too much of this bending, you know, around the wrist. And here it looks like there's a bit of bending, but you know, it's a glove. It needs to bend a bit, and you just need to often practice precision a lot better, and your form to really alleviate a lot of those issues. And you can't always rely on your gloves to do it. So let's pull open the Velcro. So 16 ounce here, there's a huge Velcro strap here. I mean, you heard that. That's very, very fresh. We've got some bits in the glove. So I open the glove out. It's quite a big Velcro strap, so it looks like it would secure very tightly. On the inside of the glove, we've got a bit of elastic here, which is a bit of give here, whatever you want to call this material, that helps open up the glove. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna throw my hand into it and just see how it feels. So yeah, so you know, gloves are always about feeling, and you gotta break them in order to get the best out of it. But when I'm first putting my hand in the glove, the first thing I notice really is how my fingers feel. They feel quite happy up here in the top compartment, because I've had gloves, and I still have gloves, that have like this part of where my fingers are, it could either be too tight, you know, right on the tips of my fingers. It can either be too tight that I can't really get my fingers all the way in, so therefore I'm not really secured with my hand in the glove, and I'm kind of floating around maybe in the glove a bit because I'm pulled back like this, and then my wrist is all the way in the wrong place. So getting your fingers right to the ends of the glove is really important, because when this is strapped down, there's going to be less turning in the wrist. It's just going to be better overall positioning. So yeah, what I feel with my fingers in the glove is that they're quite snug up there, and there's a lot of padding on the back ends of my fingers up here. So I can feel like there's no room there. I'm just wiggling my fingers, and it's sucked onto my fingers in a sense, except slightly for my pinky finger, which is sort of hanging back a bit, which might cause me a little issues. But yeah, it's obviously the shortest finger. My thumb is all the way in the end here. I can feel it right there. So there's a bit of give here. I mean, gloves are always, the thumb portion on gloves are always really weird, because they have these huge thumb sections, but inside is actually, it's just a lot of protection around the thumb. And my thumb is really just hanging out in there. An often problem as well is like, often my thumb's doing it right now, where the angle of the way this glove looks is very different from kind of the more natural position of the thumb and the fist. So it's actually pointing sort of this way, so going up in that direction, rather than being as it looks like here, because my thumb doesn't come up here and then go out to the right. It starts from about here. I can feel my base of my thumb here, and it's going up into the glove. But hey, it's just, it's just the aesthetics of the glove really, and something you have to deal with. But it does cause this issue that when you squeeze and you're pulling your thumb, like my thumb is kind of in this direction, so it's kind of pushing to grab onto the rest of my fist, but it can't. So it's like, using the glove, because I've got all these barriers between it. It's not actually connected to my fingers, it's in a different compartment. So when I'm doing this, by looking at the glove, it does quite nicely fit together in the squeeze. So the thumb is not getting in the way. You know, it's not too close over here. It's very clearly separated, and that's kind of a common addition in gloves these days, is that they have a separated thumb, whereas you know in the old days they used to be very much attached. And this one has a small attachment in the top of the thumb over here. So, but yeah, my thumb is closing quite well and not getting in the way, and it's closing neatly around the glove. So then I've got a good punching surface up here. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm using quite a lot of strain in my hand in order to grip these together. But then again, like I said, I have small hands, small wrists. You know, my tensile strength in my forearms is not as much as some people's might be, like heavyweights who will always be wearing gloves like these. So a 16-ounce glove to me is like all this extra padding. It's kind of a lot of tension for me to pull against in order to grip the glove. But, you know, that's something that will train your hand over time, and you should probably get better at anyway. Because it's important to have healthy wrists, healthy hands, healthy forearms if you're going to be in this fighting game. So, yeah, what else? So, yeah, I feel like on this side of the hand, of the glove, like my hand is over here, but again, I have quite small hands. But if I push my hand all the way to the left, then I can sort of fill out this region. But by default, when I'm all the way in, there's a lot of gap here. There's a whole load of dead space, which isn't the worst. I mean, you know, not every glove is going to be perfect to every hand because they're made generically. But that gap, that extra space might cause me issues because it might just mean I have more movability in the glove. And the last thing you want is maneuverability inside the glove. I mean, you really have to like the ideal is a perfect like molding of your whole hand, but you know, that is rare. And often breaking in the glove helps with that over time, but that is just something to be aware of. I can feel here I've got a nice grip bar, which is pretty cool. Like a lot of gloves don't have this kind of like grip bar built into the underside of the palm. There's also air vents here for my hands, so it's not going to get too hot. And I think this whole area here doesn't have padding like this. It is just a mesh, so there should be a lot of airflow going in there. And there's also flexibility. So perhaps this glove has some use for, like, you know, Muay Thai or kickboxing training as well. But particularly that it has this grip bar over the palm, over the fingers. It does mean that it's kind of designed to keep this curvature in the hand, which is important, and then also allowing me to grip around something, because often when you're wearing wraps, you want to have, depending on your style, but a lot of people they wrap their hands so they have a lot of grip bar here, so their fist has something to grab around, which helps them keep their hands secure in a secure closed position. Because when you're gripping just on your own hand like this, you know, it can cause, when you're impacting something with it, it can cause issues to your hand really quickly. But having something to grip onto adds the extra support behind the base of your punch, and it also helps with just gripping. So we're kind of getting that here. If I'm all the way in, I'm kind of getting that here on the underside of the glove. This kind of spongy bit, which is actually quite thick, and I can almost feel it when I grip my hand. So that's kind of helping me to hold on to something and it feels more natural. Anyway, I'm saying all of these things without even taping up the glove, strapping up the glove yet. So I'm just gonna one-handedly do it this way and see how that feels. So there we go. I've strapped it on. It's kind of made a mess of a mesh over here, but that's gonna happen. I've already put it on with one hand, and it's really tight. Like you can see, I'm able to turn my wrist, but I'm not falling around inside it. And obviously that depends on how tight you're gonna do it. And I've got it all the way to the edge, and it comes quite far up my forearm because, again, I don't have the biggest hands. So I get like I'm getting a lot of connection between my forearm and the rest of my hand. And this is the first thing I want to check, is I want to know exactly how much I'm able to bend my fist, bend my wrist. So, and there's two considerations, right? So there's like, if I'm doing Muay Thai or kickboxing, I need to have some flexibility to be able to open my palms like this, to do parries and things like that. And there's definitely enough here. Like, look, I've opened my hand and that's pretty wide. I'm sure that's wide enough for me to use it for that. But then I also want to know, like, if I'm closed fist and I'm hitting a punch, that my wrist is going to have, you know, it's not going to add to the issue of overturning the wrist and causing issues. So having this back support is really important to me. And I can definitely feel like right here, I'm getting a lot of support up to this bit, but maybe it's because of the size of my hand. I think it is designed, this glove, to give this flexibility. Like, honestly, I think that's what it's designed to do. But my ideal is to have a lot of support up the back of the hand, but there is a clear separation here because I can do this. It's not a bad thing. It's common in gloves, and just pointing it out that, you know, it's definitely something I always think about. I want to try and get as much backhand protection in order to keep my fist, my alignment on the back of my hand straight, even when it hits an impact, to sort of like increase my chances of not overturning my wrist. But in saying that, when I put my hand in this position, you know, I've got some bend, but as long as I'm punching correctly and following through and keeping my hands tight and taut on the point of impact, then that energy should hit straight and come back all the way through the arm, and it shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, pretty much it feels quite good. It feels quite tight around my forearm, kind of tight, like it might get uncomfortable because it's like cutting off some blood, but I can always loosen it up a little bit. So I'll try and do a slightly less tight one, just like that. So that's fairly secure, but now I've got definitely a bit of twisting going on in my wrist, but that's, you know, that's kind of what you'll expect. So I haven't got any, I've got very little side to side turn. Like I said before, I've got this downward push, this ability to go downwards, which is probably good for, you know, some sparring and parrying. But it's not going side to side very easily. I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue when you're gripping your fist tightly. I can't really move it from side to side. Like, so these sides are built in such a way, or the glove's built in such a way that it's difficult to move from side to side, because again, that can be an issue when your wrist turns too far to the left or to the right, and that can cause wrist injuries as well. My hand has been in the glove for, you know, 5 minutes or so, and it's feeling a little sweaty. It's feeling just a little bit uncomfortable between my fingers particularly, but you know, it's kind of what you expect. It's half the reason why hand wraps are used, because a lot of the time it just soaks up all the sweat in your hands, so that you're not putting all of that sweatiness into the glove and damaging the leather material inside the glove. So yeah, I mean, that felt, with my hand in there, that felt pretty tight. So one thing I'm now considering is getting through this bit is kind of tight, and then it gets gappy here, and then obviously it gets a bit tight around the fingers. So yeah, there's some difficulty getting in there. I'm genuinely thinking that whether I'd be able to wear hand wraps easily with this glove. I think I've got a lot of space on my palms. I feel the space in my palm, which is where a lot of it's going to happen. And then I want around the knuckles, but my knuckles feel like they're up here. And I think it's just partly because of my small hands, but there is some gap on the back of the hand, so that's good. So yeah, the palm here and the back of the hand, I feel space enough to wear hand wraps. And then I would just worry about protecting the knuckles even more with the hand wraps and securing that into the wrist. So yeah, a lot of wearing hand wraps with this glove, I'd be thinking about having a good hand bar, making sure these knuckles are well protected, and making sure there's a lot of protection into the bend of my wrist. Because like I said, you know, every boxing glove's different and everyone fights differently, everyone punches differently, everyone's got their own bad habits and what have you. But I'd be genuinely very quickly thinking about the back of the hand and securing that in place, so I can't turn my wrist as much, just to make sure that I've got adequate protection. Like I said, side to side was fine. I don't think that's so much of an issue, but I want to reduce my ability to turn my wrist down so that when I'm punching, I'm not gonna accidentally do this, or do it less, because the less I do that, the more injury-free I can be. What else to say? So inside there's kind of this, I I don't know, like an elastic cotton, or I'm not a materials guy, but there's kind of a synthetic material on the inside. I'm not sure what it is, but it's kind of stretchy, kind of feels airy, and that's the same all the way inside. Yeah, so there's like feeling inside of the glove, there's kind of like extra material in here as well. This stuff is kind of getting a bit loose in here, and I don't know if that's purposeful or it's to expand just because there's going to be, you know, a lot of hand wraps and stuff in here as well. So it doesn't feel tight on the inside, so I don't know if that's going to become an issue. It feels like I could almost pull out the material. It's kind of like cloth that's layered up inside, so that might be an issue. It might tear easier because of that, because it's not as taut as it is on the edge here. So yeah, we'll see about that. Also want to note that this part of the thumb is not seamlessly stitched in. It's kind of fraying here, but it's not, I think it's a purposeful fraying. It's just that it looks like the thumb has been attached onto the end of the job. So it looks a little odd. I don't know if that's going to cause an issue. I mean, you're not going to really worry about scuffs on the underside of the hand because they're just not going to happen very commonly. So you probably don't have to worry about that. As I said earlier, I think most of the worry comes on this part of the glove, which is where it'll have a wear down here in terms of the material, and then you'll have sparring partners complaining that you're like punching them with, you know, something that's like crackly old age skin, which I don't know if it'll happen, but something I'm cautious of. And then you also might have the padding wearing down over time, as is normal. But with these 16-ounce gloves, and the fact that I've said like how thick this is, like just look at that. It's incredibly thick over here on this main part of the glove, and this is your punching surface, right? So you want to be hitting them straight here on this part, and that's one other thing to mention is that the like when you're looking at pro gloves, the ideal pro glove has a very flat surface at the point of contact. So they try to make it so that, you know, your fist is in here and you're basically replicating this flat edge of the fist. And when you look at these Anthem Athletic gloves, it's kind of got a pretty curvature end to it, so it's kind of bending all the way around. It's kind of like a looping U going up and down. So that's a little concerning. Again, I say a little concerning because it's what you expect from gloves in this price range. But overall, it feels like it's really good quality. I would just be trying to make sure that I wear in these gloves around all this padding, hopefully get a good flat surface. And yeah, and do some sparring and some bag work with them. So I'm going to try them out. Thank you very much, Anthem Athletics. If you have any comments or questions about Anthem or these gloves in particular, let me know, because I will be trying them out on the bags, trying them out in precision training, and hopefully some sparring sometime soon. And then I might have even more to say about them. But this is probably a good first unboxing and first review of these gloves. And yeah, let me know if you have any more specific questions you want to know about these, and I will reply, and I'll probably make a new video about them in the future. Okay, well, thanks for watching the video, and I will see you next time. Cheers.